My Favourite Records by Queen there. It's Radio Gaga on 96.5 Bolton FM, and you're listening to This is Bolton with me, Kevin Williams. Well, this morning, would you believe we're being told an £8.8 billion tax rebate that could be creating new jobs in the UK is sitting in the taxman's bank account instead. I didn't know he had one, but so that I'm educated. And wouldn't you believe it, at a time of economic hardships, which clearly every time we read the paper, it seems to be more bad news, a tax payout on this scale could make a major difference to business owners in terms of the viability and creating more jobs and actually, coming out of the economic recession in good shape. So can they really afford to miss out? A point in question. Joining me today to talk about this is Andrew Shepherd. Now, Andrew is a business tax expert from Portal Tax Claims. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Thanks for having us on the show.
You're very welcome. First of all, I guess, what is Portal Tax Claims, Andrew?
Well, Portal Tax Claims, we're a specialist capital allowances firm. We actually noticed capital allowances and decided to become the experts in the area.
By capital allowances, just to explain for my listeners what you mean, would you?
Of course. In very simplistic terms, capital allowances are actually the only form of tax relief available for property expenditure for local businesses.
Yeah. So if a company came to you, a small business came to you and said, this is my company, you could identify very quickly what they were entitled to claim for.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we need to go into a lot more detail, but that is what we do. If we speak to a local business, we would assess their situation, have a look at their expenditure and inform them of what they could be claiming.
Now, in this time of economic difficulties, if 8.8 billion is in the taxman's bank, I'm assuming that small businesses don't claim because they're not aware of it. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the saying of if you don't know about something, then you're not going to do it. Yeah. And the problem is, even the taxman has admitted recently that they haven't done enough to inform local businesses about this, and they've actually asked us in the industry to inform local businesses to get this claim moving.
So how are you going to do that? Because that seems a mammoth task for a private company to take on.
It is a mammoth task, and hopefully by reaching out to more and more local businesses. I mean, in Bolton alone, we're looking at 900 local businesses with a share of £32 million worth of allowances. Yeah.
What are you classing as a small business? Is that done on turnover or number of employees or what?
Yeah, we look at the turnover, the number of employees. I mean, the type of companies that are fitting into the small and medium enterprises.
Yeah. Now, clearly there's an element of if they don't know about it, they won't claim. But even I suspect there's some who do know about it but don't claim. Do we know why that happens?
I think with the press recently, with some unknown or unnamed larger organisations, there's a lot of areas of tax that people like to avoid. I think with capital allowances, however, it's not a loophole. It's not something new. It's actually been around since the 1800s. It's just the knowledge around the industry that's lacking.
And I guess I better ask this question, really part of ignorance on my part as well as my listeners. Well, not ignorance on their part. I nearly lost my audience then. Is this something that they get and they have to pay back over a period of time, like a student loan, or is it's yours because we qualify under the tax scheme?
No, I mean, with this, if you're a UK taxpayer and you've spent some money on commercial property, then by spending that money, you can make a claim for these allowances. And it doesn't matter whether you spent the money today or a number of years ago, you can still make a new claim today.
Right. So how are you going to get to all these companies, small and medium businesses, and let them know what's available and then manage their interests so that we don't have 8.8 billion sitting in the taxman's bank account?
Well, of course, we can't do this all in one lump. No. So we're looking at, of course, the Bolton area at the moment and the 900 businesses that we're hoping to speak to today. Yeah. But then we're also working with legal firms, accountancy practices and different types of bodies across the country.
What always amazes me, clearly I have a vested interest in this comment, so I'll be honest. Why? I mean, we do all sorts of government-run things for free, information to society, in our terms, Bolton. It was amazing they don't produce something and just send it out to our radio station. Most would take it just as an info commercial out to the businesses. It seems a nonsense not to do that, really.
It does, and I think HMRC, they're doing their best, I think. I don't want to say too much about HMRC, but that they did admit in a recent consultation that we attended that they haven't been able to do enough, and that's why they've asked us and the industry to come out and speak to people like yourself to get this message across to the small business.
Well, I I have a monthly interview on air with a representative for HMRC. I mean, would it be right for me to mention that to them and use this radio station to get this message out?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I guess the other thing that so they're aware of the money and they're aware of what they can. Well, coming back a little bit, what sort of things are we talking about? I mean, capital covers a massive range of things.
Of course. I mean, if we look at the Bolton area, and there's a restaurant. As you walk into that restaurant, you've got the ambient lighting and the decor. And then also in the kitchen area, you've got the larger industrial cookers, the ventilation systems, and even just smaller items such as fire extinguishers. Yeah. All of these items you can claim for, but it's establishing what they are, how many of them there are, and the value of them.
This seems like a massive opportunity because this level of money. I mean, do we know what it could work out per company? Do you have a figure?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly per company because, of course, there's a lot of deciding factors. But the average we're looking at for the outstanding with our research is around about £36,000 per business.
Fairly significant sum of money for a small business, that.
It's a huge amount of money, and it could make a difference between their business being able to improve and develop and just staying where they are.
Excuse me, I'm going to make a really naive comment here, Andrew, and you might jump down my throat, but I'm assuming all small businesses have got accountants. Why would they not know this?
Accountants are very good at what they do, but not all accountants can be experts in every single area. I mean, the legislation with capital allowances is very wide, but a lot of accountants aren't able to be the experts in capital allowances.
So I'm sure I've got some small businesses listening in Bolton, small and medium businesses listening. Where would they go to find out in Bolton or nationally what they're entitled to and what they're not?
Of course. I mean, the internet is a great tool for finding out further information. The first port of call is if they do have an accountant, go and speak to them. Yeah. Following that, go onto the HMRC website. Of course, that does have some further information. And sort of more importantly, if they can't get the information there, our website at Portal Tax Claims has a lot of information, and we do have a page that says how to claim your capital allowances.
So, can you tell me briefly how they do it? I mean, most government processes seem to be torturous. Is this a torturous process?
It's the legislation behind it is not torturous, but it's quite lengthy. Making the claim in itself, once you've established the figures, is simply entering a figure into your annual tax returns.
Yeah. I guess, again, taking my life in my hands here, I guess big companies are well aware of these and go for it and get everything quite rightly they're entitled to. Why are they so good at it, if my surmise is true, yet small companies don't appear to? Is that just resource?
Well, resource is a huge factor. The larger companies generally are automatically looking at every single tax relief and tax break that they physically can. With your more local firms, unless they're told by someone, then they're not going to be fully aware of it. I mean, a typical claim is that for every £100 that you spend on property, you're going to get around about £20 of that back as tax relief.
What I can't understand, every time I read a political statement, it's always small to medium businesses that will drive this country out of the recession. And I think that's an accepted fact in business. Yep. So you would have thought that if they've $8.8 billion, which in today's environment is a lot of money, you would think they would have put the effort in to make sure it got to grassroots and kickstart the economy.
Yeah, and I think that's why they did admit, of course, anyone or any company out there to admit that they haven't done everything they possibly can, is that they have done that, and they have asked us to come out here and do this to inform as many small to medium companies out there to make these claims today. So
are you working with HMRC, who seem to be the root of this? It's their responsibility, I guess, to push this out. Are you working with them?
The reason we were told about this is because we were involved on a recent consultation. Right. We don't work with them, but we do work very closely with them.
Yeah. And as always with tax, is there some time limit on actually claiming this money? And how long does it roughly take for a small company to kick the claim off before they actually get the cash? And is it in one lump sum?
Going back to the start, with regards to how long you can make a claim for, it doesn't matter whether you spent the money today or 20 years ago, you can make a new claim today.
All right.
The timing of the claim will vary from property to property, and these allowances are fantastic in the way that it's not just a one-off benefit, but it's ongoing benefit to keep tax liabilities low year on year on year.
Yeah. And I suppose I'm right in saying once the 8.8 billion's gone, there's no more, so it pays to get in as soon as possible. Don't hang about.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it definitely pays to get in now, but that 8.8 billion will be an ever-increasing figure because, of course, every time more money is spent on property, the more that can be claimed.
Explain that to me.
It's when you buy a property, you can claim a value of around about 20%.
Yeah.
But then if you then spend more money on improving a property, you're going to look at about £20 for every 100 in that as well.
Ah, I see. Oh, that's comforting then. So there's going to be almost continuing support for small business growth in the UK through this method.
It's an excellent scheme that not only encourages the investment but also development of these types of properties.
Andrew, you mentioned, I think, that you have that your company has a website that could help my listeners. Could you just give me that website, please?
Of course, it's the normal www.portaltaxclaims.com.
Andrew, it's been a real pleasure. Love talking to you. Have a great day.
Kevin, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.